An internal email at Audi read, "Hello everyone, here is the information on the secret meeting in Munich." They typed the word secret into a company email, then distributed it to engineers at 5 competing car manufacturers. That secret cost 875 million euros. I break down Europe's biggest corporate fines every week. Subscribe if you want to understand how billion-euro punishments actually work. The meeting in question happened on June 25, 2009. Engineers from BMW, Daimler, Volkswagen, Audi, and Porsche gathered in a conference room to discuss one thing: how much AdBlue fluid their diesel cars should carry. AdBlue is the liquid that makes selective catalytic reduction work. It gets injected into exhaust gases, neutralizes nitrogen oxide, and converts it into harmless nitrogen and water vapor. More fluid means cleaner air. Bigger tanks mean longer cleaning range between service visits. The engineering was straight. Every manufacturer had the technology. The only question was how aggressively each company would deploy it. Audi's own internal analysis concluded that a tank of at least 19 liters was needed for effective emissions cleaning at realistic dosing rates. The group agreed on 8 liters, not because 8 was sufficient, because 8 meant nobody had to invest more than anyone else. They targeted a refill range of 10,000 kilometers, which sounded reasonable to consumers, but capped how much cleaning the system could actually perform between visits. They called this avoiding an arms race of tank sizes. A phrase Audi committed to writing in a memo circulated to the working group: an arms race of clean air. 5 companies decided the best strategy was making sure nobody's car cleaned exhaust better than anybody else's. The coordination went far beyond one meeting about one tank size. Over 60 technical working groups operated between 2009 and 2014, covering everything from diesel powertrains to exhaust after-treatment systems. More than 1,000 meetings in the final years of the cartel's operation alone. They rotated between Daimler headquarters in Stuttgart, BMW in Munich, Audi in Ingolstadt, and Volkswagen in Wolfsburg. They gathered at auto shows in Geneva, Frankfurt, and Paris for informal coordination on the sidelines. One particularly well-documented session took place in Bad Kissingen, where minutes recorded specific agreements on tank capacities and dosing strategies. The engineers agreed on average AdBlue consumption rates per kilometer driven, effectively capping how much cleaning their systems would perform in real-world conditions. They discussed shared dosing software platforms to ensure no manufacturer's system outperformed another's on the road. They coordinated timing for introducing gasoline particulate filters, agreeing to delay rollout rather than let any single company gain a competitive advantage on air quality. And in May 2014, when rumors surfaced that one manufacturer might break ranks and upgrade independently, Audi sent an urgent internal email warning against any company going it alone. These were structured working groups with formal agendas, documented minutes, and outcomes that filled evidence rooms in Brussels 5 years later. 5 manufacturers coordinated for half a decade on how not to compete. The only thing they successfully developed together was a system for holding technology back. Every diesel passenger car sold by these 5 manufacturers during the cartel period came equipped with emissions cleaning that deliberately operated below its engineering potential. The Volkswagen Passat and Golf, the Audi A4 and A6, the Porsche Cayenne, the BMW 3 Series, 5 Series, X3 and X5. The Mercedes E-Class, C-Class, GLC, GLE, and every Blue Tech model. Customers chose these cars specifically because the marketing promised cleaner emissions than the competition. Dealership brochures highlighted advanced SCR technology and AdBlue systems as proof of environmental leadership. Together, the Circle of 5 controlled over 60% of the European diesel passenger car market during the infringement period. Millions of buyers across the continent paid premium prices for German engineering and clean diesel innovation that was engineered to underperform. What they received was a system calibrated to meet legal minimums and nothing more, because 5 boardrooms had agreed that nothing more was commercially necessary. Millions of cars, dirtier air than the engineering allowed, because of a meeting in Bad Kissingen that said 8 liters was enough when 19 was needed. In July 2014, a compliance officer at BMW headquarters in Munich ran a routine internal audit. That audit uncovered something the officer had not been looking for. Detailed minutes from the technical working group meetings, email chains between powertrain engineers at all 5 companies, documented agreements on tank sizes, dosing rates, and coordinated rollout timelines. The findings were escalated to BMW's general counsel within hours. An internal memo from that period stated, "Given the potential exposure and the seriousness of the findings, immediate notification to the European Commission is required." BMW filed a leniency application within days. But here is the detail that makes the next 3 years absurd. Daimler filed its own leniency application in December 2015, providing the Commission with a full confession and complete documentary evidence of the cartel's operations. Volkswagen followed in July 2016. Under EU rules, the first company to deliver sufficient evidence receives full immunity from fines. Daimler won that race by packaging the most complete confession earliest. The company, whose engineers attended the same meetings, signed off on the same tank size agreements, and participated in every working group for 5 years, would pay absolutely nothing. BMW, whose compliance officer actually discovered the cartel and whose general counsel reported it first, ended up paying €372 million. Funny how immunity rewards the best confession, not the first conscience. October 2017. Commission investigators arrived unannounced at BMW's Munich headquarters on a Monday morning. That same week, simultaneous raids hit Daimler in Stuttgart, Volkswagen in Wolfsburg, and Audi in Ingolstadt. 4 cities in 5 days. Forensic IT teams carried portable imaging stations, hardware write blockers, and encrypted storage drives through reception lobbies, while executives scrambled to reach external lawyers. Inspectors presented official inspection decisions at each location, specifying scope, legal basis, and authorized personnel. They sealed offices, restricted access to server rooms, and began copying hard drives using software that generated cryptographic hash values to guarantee data integrity in court. Multiple days at each site, terabytes of communications and meeting records that traced 5 years of coordination across 4 German cities. But the most damaging evidence was not on those hard drives. It was in the leniency files the companies had already handed over voluntarily, months before the raids even happened. The investigators were not discovering a cartel, they were confirming one that 3 separate confessions had already outlined in detail. Every meeting, every email, every minute documented by participants who apparently never considered that someone might eventually read them in a courtroom. In April 2019, the Commission issued its Statement of Objections. This formal accusation outlined a legal theory never tested in 60 years of European competition enforcement. The charge was not price fixing, not market allocation, not customer sharing. The Commission argued that agreeing to limit the development and deployment of emissions cleaning technology constituted a restriction of technical development under Article 101, Paragraph 1, Subsection B of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union. That article explicitly lists limitation of technical development as a prohibited form of collusion. But no company had ever been fined under it. This case would be the first. The case switched to settlement procedure in February 2021. All parties acknowledged their guilt. On July 8, 2021, Margrethe Vestager stood at the Commission podium in Brussels and announced the decision: €875 million in total fines. Volkswagen Group, which includes Volkswagen, Audi and Porsche, paid €502 million. BMW paid €372 million. Daimler paid €0. The Commission applied a 20% reduction to all parties because this was the first prohibition decision based solely on restricting technical development. A 10% settlement discount followed for acknowledging guilt. Volkswagen received an additional 45% leniency reduction for cooperating after Daimler's immunity application. BMW received no leniency reduction at all. Vestager addressed the absurdity directly. They possessed the technology to reduce harmful emissions beyond what was legally required, but they avoided competing on using this technology's full potential. They called it cooperation. Brussels called it collusion. The fine called it €875 million. The financial aftermath keeps growing. Volkswagen has paid over €620 million in German consumer settlements alone, compensating 200,000 affected buyers who trusted the clean diesel promise. In the United Kingdom, 850,000 claimants are pursuing damages in ongoing litigation, with a landmark judgment expected in 2026. Daimler, the company that paid $0 in commission fines, now faces separate group lawsuits from Mercedes owners across multiple European jurisdictions, demanding compensation for vehicles that cleaned less than advertised. Total private damages exposure may eventually exceed the original commission fine several times over, and the regulatory response reshaped the automotive framework permanently. The European Union adopted Regulation 2024/1257, known as Euro 7, effective November 2026. It grants the Commission direct authority to conduct spot checks on vehicle manufacturers, impose fines for non-compliance with emission standards, and peer-review the decisions of national-type approval authorities. The exact regulatory gaps that allowed 5 companies to coordinate emissions technology for half a decade without detection have been legislated shut. The Circle of Five had the technology to make the air cleaner. They agreed not to use it. They typed the word secret into an email and sent it to their competitors. And when it all collapsed, the company that confessed everything paid nothing, while the company that found the problem paid $372 million. The manufacturers that built their brands on clean diesel engineering spent 5 years agreeing on exactly how dirty to keep it. Next week, Qualcomm paid Apple $3 billion to ignore every other chipmaker on Earth. The European Commission called that €997 million worth of illegal behavior. Qualcomm disagreed. They lost.